Hello, friends. Welcome in. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. It was on me, Bell. It was on me. My bad. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're getting things lumbering under our own weight at 6 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock on this Friday edition. Happy to have you with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, where you find live and local conversation every single Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. and all parts in between. We've got a lot of things to get to today in our 3 hours allotment of time. I first and foremost, thank you for spending some time with us, whether it's 5 minutes to the full 3 hours. I appreciate that. It is Locks for Trump Day 223. More on that in a moment. It is day 670 of our proceedings here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll get to the title of the show coming up in just a second as well. It's Friday. It's October 11, 2024. Is Monday, Monday's a holiday, isn't it?
A federal holiday. We don't get the day off, though.
I mean, I understand that, but it's
Columbus Day. Not Indigenous Persons Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day, sir.
It's Columbus Day. When Columbus discovered an entire part of the globe they didn't know existed.
You know what? I'm gonna take a little back on Monday. You guys get ready for the show on Monday because many of you regular listeners to the show know that I have a bit of Cherokee Indian in my heritage, in my blood.
I got some, too.
Look, Kay Ken Weaver, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Just got me another cup of coffee, and I'm getting ready to do the news.
You're getting it going on.
Real Indians don't drink coffee.
Drink the fire water?
Well, I didn't say I didn't put anything in it.
Fair point.
You did not say, but when he said the word coffee, he did the old air quotes.
Yeah.
I got my coffee ready to go.
My coffee.
My Friday edition.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Ken, do you drink out of the pot in there?
The coffee pot? Yeah.
Do you now?
I do. What's wrong? What happened?
It's absolutely nothing. I'm selectively germophobic.
Yeah.
So about some things, I don't worry about it. And about a lot of different things, I don't worry about it. But there are certain aspects of life that for some reason, it just, in my mind, I get real. And community coffee pots are one of those things.
Doorknobs are for me.
Yeah,
I can't touch a doorknob.
You can't?
No, I got to do it with my shirt.
Yeah, I get it.
Got to put the shirt tail on it.
I get it. You ever see that movie, The Aviator, about Howard Hughes?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a whack job.
Oh, no, Howard Hughes was absolutely, I've read a couple of books about him. He was an absolute whack job. He left Howard Hughes had like a 4-page document on how to cut chicken.
Like for a chef?
Yeah. Like how to properly cut his chicken into properly sized squares when he served it to him. That's Howard Hughes. But the scene in The Aviator about him getting stuck in the bathroom was apparently real.
Yes,
that actually happened to him because he didn't have a way. He couldn't get out without touching the door.
Yeah,
and there were no napkins and there was no TP for him to use to touch the door, and so he just stood there until somebody came.
Yeah, I've got to wash my hands coming out of the bathroom. I mean, I do it anyway. But I start thinking about everything I've touched in there. And I'm telling you, dude, I scrub. Woo!
I'm not that way. I mean, I'm not a lot there's not a lot of Howard Hughes in me, except for the whole pee in the bottle things. But other than that.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm not going to. Okay.
Was that weird?
Let's say that happens, and for some reason the sink isn't working. I'm not going to stay in the bathroom. I am going to,
right.
I'll have to come out of the bathroom, and I'll go find a sink.
Right.
So I'm not that bad.
But you will wash up.
Oh.
But radio station coffee, no problem.
Well, now I'm worried. Because I'm wondering what might have happened to the pot before I got here today.
I'm not casting any aspersions over those that use the coffee pot, Ken. I promise you I'm not. I can't do it.
I just thought of something. Well, everybody touches that handle.
This is why I stop and get a bottle of iced coffee before I come in, and I don't have to mess with it.
This is why you can't go down the rabbit. Oh, everybody touches that. Oh, my Lord.
Well, now I got to wash my hands after I pour a cup.
Well, everybody, the knob that you turn on the water to wash your hands with?
Son of a biscuit eater. You can't get away from it.
You can't get away from it.
I'm going to have to use my elbow. I've constantly got a wet spot on my belly, on my shirt, because I've bent over the sink to use my elbow.
By the way, Ken, that keyboard that everybody's pounded on in the newsroom to drive the headlines every single day, Monday through Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What about that keyboard?
That's Joan. I'm not worried about
Well,
Joan.
that's true. Well, see, I was more concerned about Jay Harper and, I don't know, Malinoff, the randos, you know.
I definitely worry about those two.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Well, Ken, it's good to see you. I like that. I like that hat, my friend.
Oh, we got to beat them. Got to beat them horns.
I'm a big fan. I'm a Sooner fan. I think you got. I think you've got the cover. And gosh, why not just go ahead and get the win?
Why don't we just do another couple of pick sixes and win this ball game?
And just go ahead and win it.
Do it.
I mean, this is the big one for y'all, right? I mean, this is it. This is the big rivalry.
That's right. That's what you tell them big boys up front. You're 300 pounds. Go knock somebody on their butts.
I don't care what anybody tells me how politically correct I'm supposed to be. I'm going to call it the Red River Shootout. There, I said it.
Woo!
Because we're not supposed to call it that anymore,
Well,
right?
yeah, man, you got Texas cheerleaders firing off guns. We're firing off guns.
But it's a rivalry. It's not it was the Red River Shootout forever, right?
Yeah, it was always the shootout, and I don't know if the millennials or the Gen Z Sooners call it shootouts, but the Gen Xers do.
Well, that's what I always called it. Just like I'll always call when Georgia and Florida play in Jacksonville, it's the world's largest outdoor cocktail party,
sir.
and I don't care what anybody else says.
That's right. That's right.
We need to, you know, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe even more than that, they said, well, we're going to stop doing that. We're not going to call it that anymore because it encourages drinking. I've been to that thing. I've been to it before they stopped calling it that, and I've been to it after they stopped calling it that. And let me promise you this, it has not discouraged drinking. There is just as much drinking now as there ever was.
Well, and here's the thing, Brother Murphy. Did it ever encourage drinking?
No, it's exactly.
Like you need encouragement.
Right. Well, I was thinking about not drinking today, but, you know, they do call this the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, so I don't want to be the party pooper.
I don't care if they do have clean coffee pots. I'm going to drink a beer.
Sir, before I go into the cooler to get to the beer, what's on this handle here? Would you mind wiping that down for me?
I got to tell you, man, it is so fun being in the SEC. It is so fun.
I love it. I love it that you're here. I think Oklahoma and Texas, they fit in so well. And hell, Vanderbilt's acting like an SEC team nowadays. I love it.
Dude, this conference, you cannot take a week off.
Nope.
You just can't. You can't do it.
Well, if there's any week to take the week off, I think my Georgia Bulldogs have gotten one because we're playing the Mississippi State Bulldogs, which are suddenly the worst team in the league.
Well.
Got
to look out for them, though.
I know, but see, that's the thing, is that any given Saturday, as Vanderbilt demonstrated, anything can happen.
That's college football.
And that's why we love college football. All right, we've got lots to get into. 25 days to go before the election. We're now learning why Kamala Harris has stayed away from interview-style settings because she is just horrible at them. She does not seem to have a command, and I think I've gotten to the bottom of what this is. I don't know that she's that smart, but she's also not a quick study, and she's also, it seems to me, not willing to do the work to get the answers necessary to answer some of these questions. In other words, what was the old line from Animal House? Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. Well, you can be not as politically astute at answering some of these questions that are asked of you about some basic political matters, and that's all well and good. Or if you're good at it, you can be a little lazy when it comes to studying up on what your answers should be. But you cannot be both. And Kamala Harris is both. Now, you guys know me in polls. I don't typically dive into polls deeply because I understand that polls are snapshots in time. And if you start putting them together, you start seeing trend lines. I also believe that many, many polling centers, especially those with the ABC or the NBC or the CNN in front of their name, or the New York Times in front of their name, or the Washington Post in front of their name, these are polls that I do not trust because I believe that these are polls that are designed to build narratives. And that's not the purpose of a poll. The purpose of the poll is to take that snapshot in time and to figure out where people are on the issues or where people are on any given subject It's not to create a narrative so that you can move people on the subject, which is what, sadly, many media organizations are doing nowadays. However, all of that said, I have gotten to the time with less than a month to go that I am paying a little bit of attention to some of the polling data because now that we are voting, things begin to matter. For me, and I know that there are differing opinions on this, and that's fine. I don't see any use in talking about a poll 4 months before an election. Now, while I understand why people do, and I'm not begrudging anyone from doing so, I just don't see the purpose in it. I would prefer to talk about the issues at hand. I would prefer to talk to you about the matters that are important to you, as opposed to giving an analysis of a poll that's not going to mean anything 3 months from now because the world changes so quickly and the headlines change so quickly, and who knows what's coming around the corner. But that's 4 or 5 months out. Now people are voting. People have voted. Now we're getting a sense of where people are on this presidential election in real time as we lead up to 3 weeks before the culmination of the 2024 election season. And let me tell you, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I don't want any one of you to take anything for granted. But according to the data points in the battleground states, people are paying attention to who Kamala Harris is. They know who Donald Trump is. They know what Donald Trump brings to the table. Despite how he is vilified in mainstream media, the people are seeing through it and getting to their kitchen tables and looking at their checkbooks, quote unquote, because I know we don't have them anymore. And they're getting to the issues that truly matter to them. And they're asking themselves, I'm not electing a pope. I'm electing a president. And for that reason, we see in these battleground states, they are breaking for Trump because Kamala Harris does not give them anything to vote for. She is a younger female version of what Joe Biden represented, which was a figurehead that doesn't seem to bring her own ideas to the table. And when asked to express them, doesn't seem to have an ability to do that. We will break that down for you today. We'll talk about the Electoral College. Don't go anywhere. Don't turn that radio dial. I'll make it interesting. I already see you out there. Did you see what Tim Walz said? This guy used to teach social studies. He taught social studies in public school before he decided to go off to China and gallivant about China for a while, which he did. And then he finally came back, and I think when he came back, he was an assistant football coach, and he taught geography, which is a little better than social studies considering his political leanings. Can you imagine Tim Walz, the Marxist that he is, the communist that he is, teaching your child about social studies? I cannot. I can also not imagine Tim Walz standing in a classroom teaching children about the benefits of the Electoral College, considering what he said about the Electoral College at a private fundraiser just the other day. Twice, as a matter of fact. Now he's walking those comments back because those comments have been made public. We'll discuss on the program today. We'll have Jay Sinclair, his normal position on a First Amendment Freestyle Friday on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And a couple of surprises coming along the lines as well, and perhaps a check-in with our friends over in Fairview, North Carolina. That's in the Asheville suburbs as they continue their cleanup of Hurricane Helene. An update on Hurricane Milton. I think the last I saw, 16 individuals dead as a result of Hurricane Milton. Truly did dodge the worst of Hurricane Milton, thankfully, in the state of Florida. And everything looks A-OK in the state of Florida as best as it can be as they continue to dry out and clean up in the aftermath of that hurricane. There's another one that's coming. The expectation is there's another one that might be in the Gulf of Mexico like a week or a week and a half from now. It's 12:20, just getting underway. Your telephone calls all afternoon long as well. 615-737-9986. I mentioned it's Locks for Trump Day 223. You can join me on the Super Talk television side of things to see how the locks are growing. That's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Available for you. Thank you to our friends at U.S. Pest. who bring you the broadcast on a day-to-day basis. You can also find us internet streaming platforms all over the map. We're there, and you can download our app as well. Take us wherever you go if you're not able to listen on 99.7 FM. Today's episode, 670. You will not, if you go over to Supertalk TV, you'll see Ken Weaver on occasion. You'll see that lovely OU hat he's got on, but you will not see Bell K. Bell chooses not to participate on the television side of things, because of the warrants.
Yep.
So we call him Headless Bell.
Is there a reward?
You know what? Kid, I love Ken Weaver.
There is.
I'd never thought to ask, but I'm glad you did. You do a little sleuthing there in the newsroom, and let me tell you this: if it's over triple digits, I'll split it with you.
Yeah.
Love you, Bell, but got to do what you got.
If it's over 4 digits, I'll turn myself in and split it with you.
Now I'm just imagining Bell's face on one of those old school wanted posters from back in the Old West.
Wanted.
$10,000 reward.
Dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
I'll take dead, please. Thank you. Episode 670, Bell, is
And
entitled.
this is the crowd that loves me.
Yeah, no, we're your buddies. We're your friends.
I love Brother Bilal.
Today's title, Matt Murphy, there's golf to be had. Let's trash the Democrats and then start the weekend.
That's true. I mean, isn't that the way to do it?
Yes.
I think so. We'll begin in earnest next on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. It's hard to find a heater or air conditioner guy that you can trust that's going to be there for the long term, the long haul. I have found that man in Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling, and I am proud to refer him to you. Jeff Eddy is not the biggest company in Nashville, Tennessee, or in the state of Tennessee, but they strive to have a 100% satisfaction rating when it comes to taking care of your family and your home. When it comes to your heater, a couple of things you need to know. One, you need to get the thing cleaned. You need to get it maintained before you begin to use it in earnest. And next week, we're looking at conditions that are getting down into the 30s. So most of you will be turning on that heater and turning off the AC. If that's the case, then it's time to get Jeff Eddy out to your home to let him clean that thing. And you'll never be charged over $125, no matter how many heating units you have at your residence. They just don't do it. And oftentimes it's much less than that. That's the high-end cap. Plus, if you need a second opinion on something important for your heater, if you've been told it needs to be replaced, let Jeff Eddy be that second opinion, because oftentimes he can find a solution that will give you another year or two on your heater, and that's going to save you money in the long run. Efficient Heating and Cooling is an efficient, an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and Efficient wants to see you online at efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net, 615-784-4424.
Antioch still got that crash blocking the right shoulder 24 westbound at Hickory Hollow. And in the news, Governor Ron DeSantis telling Floridians about the biggest threat to their safety now. And a new report says the federal government may be partly to blame for Boeing safety issues. That's coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. Bell K controlling the knobs, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. And your humble host, that's Matt Murphy, until 3 o'clock, 615-737-9986. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. I really take all comers Monday through Thursday, but on Fridays, I promise to act interested in whatever you have to say. That's my little gift to you.
Did you hear what he said?
What?
That the federal government could be responsible for Boeing's problems. Why is he back there spouting misinformation?
That's true.
The federal government would be responsible for one of the most regulated industries in the country having problems?
No. Not the feds. The feds do everything right, don't they?
There's a couple of suits outside the anchor door.
Oh, you better go take that. That's very important. So if you're getting cooked on Good Morning America by Michael Strahan, I don't think that.
That's the guy that was with. He replaced Regis.
Replaced Regis.
Okay,
right.
I was trying to remember who he was.
He was with Regis and it was Regis and Kathy Lee, and then it was Regis and Kelly, and then it was Kelly and something else, and then it was Kelly and Michael, and now it's it's Kelly and so I can't watch that show because she's too skinny.
It's her husband that's on there now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And a lot of people say he's better than she is.
She's too skinny, man. Knowing what television does to people anyway, because, TV adds 5 pounds, and if you ever, or 10 pounds, and if you ever see me on television, I got 14 cameras on me. See what I did there? So she has to be.
He's on Good Morning America now, right?
He switched over to Good Morning America.
Yeah, he's one of the lead anchors.
And look, good for him. I mean, he parlayed an NFL career with the New York Giants into an opportunity. He hosts he's kind of a different version of Ryan Seacrest. Like, he can do a little bit of everything, but he doesn't really dig too deep into anything. He is not a political analyst. He is not a political commentator. That's not his forte. And so it's interesting that they asked him to interview sitting down with Tim Walz. So this was designed to be a softball interview, and I've got the clip for you because he asked him. He said, "Hey, we heard that at a fundraiser recently, you said you wanted to do away with the Electoral College." The answer is delicious, and we'll play it for you coming up in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's right after the news, and the news is happening right now.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now, Governor Ron DeSantis telling Floridians they could be the biggest threat after Hurricane Milton.
We're now in the period where you have fatalities that are preventable. We have had fatalities because of interaction with downed power lines and water. We are seeing hazards that are still there. So please, exercise caution.
Congress is on recess until November 12th, but President Biden and reportedly a bipartisan group of lawmakers in states that have been hit by these storms are calling on Congress to get back to Washington and pass more funding for FEMA. A new report says oversight over Boeing has not been sufficient. Here's Alex Stone.
Boeing is dealing with a number of issues. Now the Department of Transportation's Inspector General is out with a report saying the FAA's oversight of Boeing's production issues on the 737 and 787 Dreamliner is not effective. The report finds the FAA's oversight process has been unable to appropriately identify and resolve Boeing's production issues. The audit saying by improving oversight, the FAA can improve a failing system and restore public trust in the safety of Boeing aircraft.
Fisher-Price recalling more than 2 million Snugga infant swings after reports of 5 infant deaths over the past 10 years. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says these swings can pose a suffocation risk when used improperly for sleep. Between 2012 and 2022, the deaths occurred when infants were left unrestrained and bedding materials were added to the swings. Fisher-Price urges parents not to use the swings for sleep and to remove the headrest and body support inserts. A $25 refund being offered for recalled models. More information on the recall available on the Consumer Product Safety Commission website. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and I'm here to talk to you for a moment about Safe House and everything that they're bringing to the table when it comes to your personal safety and your Second Amendment rights. Nashville Safe House has more safes than you can possibly shake a stick at. I mean, well, I guess I'm going to take that back. If you took long enough, you could shake a stick at every safe, but it's going to take a while because they have like about 200 in stock on the showroom floor. And I'm different brands like Browning and Rhino and Fort Knox and all of the major brands. They've got them over at Nashville Safe House. And they've got sizes for every budget. They've got sizes for every need. They've got different styles for every budget. And they've even got vault doors. I mean, vault doors, for goodness sake. They have it all at Nashville Safe House. Plus, in addition to those 200 safes I told you about in the showroom, they've got almost 400 of them in their warehouse as well. So they have something that they can get delivered to you jiffy quick when the time comes. Plus, remember, gun safes are sales tax free at Nashville Safe House. Go see Mark and his team at Nashville Safe House. You'll be happy you did. I encourage you to stop by and see for yourself. See if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris still remains the employee of the year. That's what Mark said, that Kamala Harris is the big nominee. I'm trying to get employee of the year, and he won't give it to me because he said that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sell more safes every year than anybody in America. I can understand that. I can understand why you need a safe from Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com or 4th Avenue South. I know you hate the song. You love the sentiment, though, don't you? It's Friday. And it is, as Rebecca Black taught us so many years ago, it is a moral and actual imperative that we get down on Friday. Thank you for being with us on this First Amendment Freestyle Friday. I like to remind you that we ought to thank the people that make our weekend. Most of us have a day or two off on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, but there are many people that don't, whether they're restaurateurs or convenience store workers, people that work at your gas station, people that are working at the grocery store, and of course, firefighters, police officers, EMTs, all of you weekend warriors, we thank you for making our weekend special and making our weekends what they are. And I'm just hoping for fast greens and fast fairways tomorrow morning, bright and early at Two Rivers. Anyway, 38 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. When you get tripped up by Michael Strahan, it's saying something. Now, let me give you a little bit of the backstory before I play you this clip. So Tim Walz said the other day at a campaign stop that he wanted to get rid of the Electoral College. Do you know what the Electoral College is? Do you know what the Electoral College was for? It's not the Electoral College. It's the Electoral College. And while campaigning for Kamala Harris on the West Coast, Walz suggested at two separate fundraiser stops. I guess it got a lot of action and attention the first time he did it, so he decided to do it again. He said that we need the national popular vote as the sole means of electing the president of the United States of America and their running mates. While campaigning at two separate fundraisers, he said that he would prefer to focus on winning votes across the country rather than concentrating on key battleground states that could sway the upcoming presidential election as they've done in the past. Quote, now, there's no audio that I could find on this because it was a private fundraiser, but somebody quoted him on it. I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. He said, I think all of us know that the Electoral College needs to go. We need a national popular vote. But that's not the world we live in, the Democrat vice presidential nominee told donors at California Governor Gavin Newsom's Sacramento home. So we need to win Beaver County, Pennsylvania. We need to be able to go into York, Pennsylvania and win. We need to be in western Wisconsin and win. We need to be in Reno, Nevada and win. At a similar statement, or in a similar statement, I should say, at a Seattle fundraiser, earlier this week, Walz touted himself as a national popular vote guy, but that's not the world we live in. So it's a line that he's using in private functions. I'm a national popular vote guy, but that's not the world we live in. Burp, burp, burp. Does anyone care to take a stab? 615-737-9986 about why we have the Electoral College. The real reason is a pretty simple one. Now, without digging any deeper than this, I would tell you that the literal reason that we have the Electoral College is because the Founding Fathers didn't want Congress to do it. That is the literal reason. They did not want direct election of the President of the United States by the people. And it was almost off the table, so much so that it was never a consideration. Although there were some that argued at the Philadelphia Convention. But at the time of the convention, there was, you want to guess how many countries in the world? At the time that our founding fathers were figuring all of this out, you know, we had the Continental Congress, had the Declaration of Independence, then we had the Articles of Confederation. It's a period in time that we don't talk about very much, but we defaulted to a federal government that was so weak that we could not get together and collaborate on a monetary system. The Articles of Confederation was weak enough that we had to come back some 10 years later and say, we need a little bit more of a unified federal government if we are going to be United States. It was always expected the states would be in control of all of the process. Sadly, we've lost our way over 220 whatever years or 230 whatever years, and it might be 240 now. I don't know. But as they came back together at the Philadelphia Convention, Bell, you want to guess this? How many countries in the world at the time of the writing of the Constitution of the United States of America, how many countries directly elected their chief executive?
I don't know. I feel like I want to say 0.
Is that what you want to say?
Yeah.
You know why you want to say that, Bell?
Because it's right.
Because you're absolutely right! Gold star for Bell.
Hey, it ain't just boats, baby.
No other country in the world directly elected their chief executive. So the delegates were wading into very much uncharted territory as to how to do that. Further complicating the task was a distrust of executive power. They didn't want kings in the United States of America. We don't want kings. We don't want people that ensconce themselves in power and then remain there permanently. We don't want army generals. One of the reasons that George Washington had to abdicate his role as general of the army was so as to take up the role as president of the United States of America, because he couldn't do both. Now, you are a citizen commander-in-chief, but you are that indeed a citizen, not a member of the military, because we did not want military coups controlling our country. One group of delegates at the Continental Congress, or rather the Constitutional Convention, felt very strongly that Congress, as a separate but equal branch of government, should have nothing to do with selecting the president. There was another camp that was dead set against anyone directly electing the president of the United States. The Founding Fathers were brilliant people. And they recognized then, as we ought to recognize now, that a lot of people that go out and vote are absolute dunderheads. They're snapperheads. You have to protect this country through the rule of law and through a system of checks and balances against the snapperheads of the country. You have to protect the nation itself against the dumb people. The Electoral College does that. It does that. Many individuals that were dead set against the election of the president of the United States by a straight-up popular vote thought that the voters lacked the resources to be fully informed about the candidates themselves, especially in rural outposts. Does that sound familiar? Secondarily, they feared the headstrong, quote, mob of Democratic mob is what they called it. They feared that the mob, if it realized it could vote itself a largesse from the government, that it would do so and steer the country astray. And third, they feared that, listen closely now, a populist president appealing directly to the people could command a dangerous amount of power. Something that our friends on the Democrat side of the aisle today suggest represents Donald Trump, yet they are the ones that want to go to a system that doesn't have an electoral college. So it was a drawn-out debate. And the Electoral College became the compromise because there was a faction that was steadfast against congressional involvement in the election of the executive branch. So the suggestion initially was that you get all the Congress people together and you get the senators together, however many there were at the time. There weren't 435 in Congress. There weren't 100 in the Senate either, because there weren't 50 states. But however many there were, the suggestion initially was that you put all of those people together in Congress and let them vote for the president of the United States. In a similar fashion that we allow the Tennessee legislature to vote for, we ultimately allow the Senate to decide the lieutenant governor. We allow the House to decide Speaker of the House. But these bodies also decide a number of constitutional offices in the state of Tennessee. That was the talking point amongst Washington, D.C. But they did not wish to give Congress that level of power. And so to mitigate the rule of the mob and to placate the idea that we don't want the mob to elect the president, we came up with the concept of the Electoral College, which is basically a mirror image in number. It's a mirror image of the number of Congress people and senators that we have. So if you know, for example, that the state of Tennessee has, like for Bell K, by the way, Bell K, quick quiz. How many Congress people do we have in Tennessee? In the House?
9.
How many do we have in the Senate?
2.
What's 9 plus 2?
11.
Man, you're on fire today, buddy.
It's called the bilge.
You haven't missed one yet. It's like you're driving down the field. You're just going touchdowns, baby.
Mainsail.
I love it. This is on the heels of you demonstrating intimate knowledge of sailing. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. Weaver, he's whipping you. Jump on in here when you know him, Weaver. I know you're just doing the news in there, but Bell K is getting gold stars everywhere, buddy.
I'm real busy.
You're still thinking about that tray of beers I showed you during the break.
Son of a biscuit eater.
Oh, how about that?
It's too long till quitting time.
I've got I'm diverting. I'm squirreling myself. Squirrel! I have a buddy that's over in Germany for Oktoberfest, and my buddy sent a group of us a photograph of a flight of beers, and there's 10 of them, and they look to be like large glasses of beer, and they're all different colors. It's just, for beer drinkers, it's nirvana. It's beautiful.
It's a rainbow.
It was taste the rainbow, Ken. Taste the rainbow. And Ken, and the Weaver, as soon as I show him the picture, I'm going to tell you, as soon as I show him the picture, he goes, "Oh, Murphy, I would start with this one, and then I would go to that one, and then I would go to this one over here, and then I'd do all those light ones at the end."
Yeah, the 2 dark ones would last about 2 minutes.
And then there looked to be a sour in there, Ken. I like a sour. How about you?
I'll do about any beer.
You know what my grandpa would say? They say, "Hey, Cecil, what kind of liquor you drink, Cecil?" And my grandpa would say, "OP." And they'd say, "What's that? I've never heard of that." And he would say, "Other people's." Okay. In other words, my grandpa was of the philosophy, if you've got it, I'm drinking it. So yes. I like that philosophy.
Yes, sir.
All right, 1250 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Leah, I'll tell you what, Leah, let's get to you. How are you? Is it Lee or Leah?
Leah.
Hello, Leah.
How are you?
I'm good. Are you?
I am well. You stole a lot of my thunder.
Well, I didn't mean to do that.
But that's all right. The big reason for the Electoral College is twofold. One is to prevent mob rule since Castro, and the other is to allow proportionate representation. So yes, you're guarding against people who are ignorant, but you're also allowing a voice from people in less populated areas. Otherwise, New York City, Chicago, and L.A. would vote our president every 4 years.
Yep, that's exactly right. The Senate factor in the Electoral College curves out it softens those edges, those rough edges. And that's what folks need to understand. And you obviously do, Leah, about the Electoral College. So you get some basic population representation based on the number of Congress people that you have in any given state. I think California's got like 50 of them or something like that.
48.
But by percentage, Tennessee gets an elevated representation in the Electoral College because if you add the 2 to Tennessee's 9 and you get 11, you add the 2 to California's 48, I guess it is, then you're coming up with the percentages are different when you're adding those numbers into the pool. So you're softening the edges around the populations of these larger states, and you're giving some of the smaller states a little more voice in the game. Not a lot more, but a little more voice in the game. Why is that important? Because the states are representing themselves through that action. Not just the people, but the individual states have a voice. You know, there was a time when the United States Senate represented the states. It does not anymore, sadly. Because of the 17th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, the first thing that I would do if I were president of the world would be to eliminate the 17th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States.
Absolutely. That did more to damage states' rights than anything in the history of this country.
It's why we have FEMA. If you want to know why we have FEMA, it's because of the 17th Amendment. If you want to know why government has grown as bloated as it is not just because we gave women the right to vote. It is also because of the 17th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. Why are you laughing at me?
Dude, why don't you just call them all ugly and get it over with?
I've already been accused of saying I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm going to tell you why I'm in trouble.
I opened the mic just to ask you why you hate democracy, and now you're trying to shoot yourself in the foot.
Well, I mean, you tell me that those two things don't.
That one has nothing to do with the other.
Really?
At all.
Really? So women get the right to vote, America starts going to hell in a handbasket. Those two things aren't interrelated?
No, I think it was Woodrow Wilson is the reason America started going to hell.
We're going to go Woodrow. But I'm in trouble based on something I said about Kelly Ripa. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm getting hell on the membersnutrition.com super text line. It's 53 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. The Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to help you, gentlemen. If you're listening to me right now, or if you're a lady that has noticed that your guy has lost a little motivation, energy, or drive, and perhaps this has begun to manifest itself in the bedroom. If that is the case, I'm not here to get into your business. I'm not here to talk about your private life. I'm here to help. And the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help. Because if you have issues that have created a schism within your intimacy, it is time to get it corrected with the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Let's go and see the gang over there in Midtown or the new location in Franklin. They can help. The Tennessee Men's Clinic will examine you. One of their qualified urologists will take a little blood work. We'll see what's going on inside of your body. Is it possible that you have a low T level? Well, let's find out, because if you do, they have solutions for you. The Tennessee Men's Clinic can correct what ails you. Gentlemen, let's not live with this any longer. Let's not whistle past this graveyard. Let's handle this situation and get on with our lives. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for more information. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or give them a call and schedule that appointment today. You'll be glad you did. 615-208-9090. 208-9090.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, I've got a story about a recall of ready-to-eat food sold at some of the nation's largest retailers due to potential contamination. Here's Dave Packer.
Almost 10 million pounds of ready-to-eat meat and poultry products are being recalled due to possible listeria contamination. The USDA says products from Bruce Pack sold at retailers like Walmart, Trader Joe's, and Aldi are part of the recall. The affected items produced between June and October bear establishment numbers 51205 or P51205 inside or under the USDA inspection mark. While no illnesses have been reported, listeria can pose serious health risks. Consumers are advised to return or discard the items immediately.
Well, the White House says President Biden goes to Florida on Sunday to visit areas impacted by Hurricane Milton. No details yet on what cities he will visit or who will be there with him. This morning, Governor Ron DeSantis gave another update.
State search and rescue teams across the state have continued to work around the clock to successfully execute rescue missions of individuals as well as a lot of pets on the West Coast, as well as from the destruction from the tornadoes in other parts of the state.
DeSantis says they're now in a period where you have fatalities that are preventable. They've had fatalities because of interaction with downed power lines in water, he says. And here in Tennessee, a shakeup for Tennessee's offices of the FBI. Leadership positions are moving out of the Memphis office and headed to Nashville. Most of the 450 FBI employees based out of Memphis are staying put, but it, along with the Knoxville office, are being downgraded to resident agencies. The centralized Nashville office will take the lead. U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty doesn't think that's a great idea.
Our state is growing. The Tennessee population is growing, and the challenges are growing as well. We've been dealing with significant challenges here in Memphis. I've not heard any explanation of why the FBI would downgrade anything in our state, certainly not in this part of the state.
The FBI says moving out managers will help make room for more investigators in Memphis and Knoxville. Retailers are racing to clear out abandoned Redbox DVD kiosks after the company went out of business. When Redbox filed for bankruptcy, it stranded more than 24,000 DVD vending machines at stores across the country. These kiosks, which once held more than 600 DVDs each, now pose safety hazards. They clog remodeling plans and now require bankruptcy court permission to remove. Just getting them out can be costly and complex. Some are hardwired into electrical systems or bolted into concrete. Most kiosks will be sold for scrap, but a few could find new life as collector's items or even repurposed for other uses like cannabis vending. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
What a fabulous opportunity at the Glock store this October. They've got a great chance for you to win a customized Glock that is valued somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000, and I want to tell you all about it. It is not a spook house like a haunted house. It is a spooky shoot house, and I love this idea. So if you go by the Glock store anytime during the month of October, and you say, hey, I want to go through the shoot house, the spooky shoot house, then it costs $30. You run the course. It includes 20 rounds of ammunition, and you'll shoot ghosts and goblins and ghouls and the like, and there's spooky music going on, and there's lights, and there's cobwebs and all of that. They've got it dressed up very nice. I mean, it's very, very cool looking. And if you it includes 20 rounds of ammo. Just to make it a level playing field, everybody's going to use the same model Glock handgun, and that is going to be provided for you. It's included for you. And there's a lot of reasons that I love the Glock store. I mean, they've got a great selection of Glocks, the best on planet Earth, really. They've got a great selection of other handguns, long guns. They've got a great selection of accessories. They've got the Shoot 270 rooms, and they've got great events like this. The month of October, the Spook House becomes a shoot house, and it's a lot of fun. Ask about it, and open late Fridays and Saturdays until 7 o'clock. Glockstore.com or shoot270.com. Hey, what's going on? Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 7 minutes after 1 o'clock. Almost halfway home, Matt Murphy Show. Super Talk 99.7. Give us a call, 615-737-9986. I know I have to pay off the Strahan quote. I will. We've got Friday coming up. I have remembered that. I don't know if Bel K's remembered it, but I have. I do some of that just for the reaction.
Of course I know it's coming up.
Of course.
That's now.
Oh, wait. No, yeah, that's a 107 right now. Jerry will get you on the phone as well. And yes, of course, I was kidding a little, well, kind of sort of kidding about women's rights to vote. I believe that every woman should have a right to vote, and I believe that you should have the right to go and vote for Donald Trump, okay? All right. Yeah, and several of you think that I'm confusing the 17th Amendment with the 16th Amendment. I am not. If I had the power, the first thing that I would do, if I were in control, they said, Murphy, you are king of the world for the day. You can do anything you want in the United States of America to make America a better place. I would force a balanced budget amendment, and I would repeal the 17th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. I would also initiate a fair tax, which is a consumption-based tax, and repeal the 16th Amendment of the United States of America. So no 16, no 17, and an amendment that would require we balance our budget going down the road. The 17th Amendment, for those that don't know, that was the amendment that created the direct election of senators to the United States Congress. And what this, in effect, did was it eliminated state representation in Washington, D.C. Now, I understand that there are many that disagree with this, but I would suggest to you that when we began directly electing our senators, they became more agents of the federal government than agents of the state. When these individuals were appointed by the state legislatures in the respective states to go, and it was truly meant to be the people's house and the house representing the states. The people's house was the House of Representatives. Those were the individual people. So the rights of the state and the people respectfully shall not be infringed. So when we began directly electing senators, I don't think that this was the purpose, but it was an unintended consequence. They began representing more of the federal government's interest than they did the interest of the states. And they saw doing things through the federal government as opposed to suggesting that this was the role of the state governments where they had previously been appointed from. That gave them more power and control of how things happen in America. And since its implementation, we have seen a tremendous shift of power and control from the 50 various states to the federal government. And ask yourself this question: who has performed better in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene? The Tennessee Emergency Management Agency or the Federal Emergency Management Agency? Even more so to the point, who has performed better? The local authorities, the local sheriff's department, the people that are on your street, your neighbors helping your neighbors, or the federal government, right? We are served best when we're served most locally, which is why I would boot the 17th Amendment. Now, I know Jay's waiting, and Fry Jay's on the way. Get your questions in on the membersnutrition.com super text line at 615-737-9986. You can phone them in or you can write them in, and we'll get to every legal question or any question that you have for Fry Jay. But before we do, I have to pay this off, and my apologies to Jay, who I know is waiting. But I promised I would do this. So Tim Walz was talking Electoral College, and we spoke about it during the first hour of the show, trying to explain why the Electoral College is the way it is and why it better represents our representative republic as opposed to a direct democracy. We're not a direct democracy. Well, Tim Walz is spouting off his mouth saying that he believed that we needed to have direct election of the president of the United States, which is ridiculous. Because you would see an election for the president of the United States happening through New York and California and Illinois and Texas and Florida and maybe a few other states sprinkled in. And the less populated states would be forgotten. Well, he was asked about this by political scholar and analyst Michael Strahan on Good Morning America. One would think that he would be ready for an answer. One would be wrong. Here was his answer.
I want to go back to something you said on Tuesday. You said, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. But the campaign came out later that night, and they said that's not their stance.
Yeah. Well, it's not the campaign's position. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's folks that feel every vote must count in every state. Mm-hmm. And I think some of folks feel that's not the case. Our campaign does that. And the point I'm saying is I'm in 5 states in 2 days. We're out there making the case that the campaign's position is clear, that that's not their position. Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in, matters.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign and my position is the campaign's position.
Bell, you're like 4 for 4 today. I mean, and if I start talking about your knowledge of sailing, you're off the charts. Would you care to explain what Tim Walz just said?
I don't think he knows what he just said, because he contradicted himself, and then he
three times.
Then he just simply kowtows to the campaign's position when it's clearly different than what he believes. But people have to understand, you have never, ever, once in your lifetime, ever voted for a president.
No. You vote for electors.
You vote to instruct your state how you want it to vote.
Right. You vote for a slate of electors.
The state electors decide the president, and you instruct them through your vote how they need to vote.
One more time. Once again, I hesitate to do it because Jay's waiting. I just want you to listen to this again and tell me. Tim Walz said, all of us know. He said during a fundraiser, all of us want the Electoral College gone. And then when asked about it by Michael Strahan, see what his position is now on this issue and whether or not it differs from Kamala Harris.
I want to go back to something you said on Tuesday. You said, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. But the campaign came out later that night, and they said that's not their stance.
Yeah. Okay, so he said all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. The campaign, that would be the Harris-Walz campaign, said that's not their stance. That would be Kamala Harris's position on this issue. So obviously they have a disagreement, which is what Michael Strahan is trying to get to, but Tim Walz is having none of it.
Well, it's not the campaign's position. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's folks that feel every vote must count in every state. Mm-hmm. And I think some of folks feel
every vote in every state does count. You vote for a slate of electors. Those electors then go and vote for the president.
That's not the case. Our campaign does that. And the point I'm saying is I'm in 5 states in 2 days. We're out there making the case that the campaign's position is clear, that that's not their position.
The campaign's position is clear that that's not their position.
Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in.
Okay, so their position and Tim Walz's position, they're now the same position. He said their position and my position
matters.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign and my position is the campaign's position.
My position is the campaign's position. The campaign came out and contradicted his position that he stated the other day. So did he answer the question? Of course he didn't. Can we get to Fry, Jay, so my head will stop hurting? Is that possible for us to do that?
Why can't he just say, you know what, she and I disagree on this, but it's the Harris-Walz campaign,
Yeah,
so we're going with her.
She's the boss. I was speaking from a personal standpoint. I mean, how hard is that to answer the question? You're right, Bill.
Very, very.
Apparently it is. Hey, we're all humans. We all have slightly different positions on these issues. Both of us want every vote to count. Both of us want to make sure that democracy works for the American people. We have a slight difference of opinion on this. No big deal. It's her campaign. I act in a subservient fashion to Kamala Harris. That's it. That's what you say. Speaking of acting in a subservient fashion, it's time for Jay Sinclair. Indeed, it is. Ray is mad at me because a lot of people actually, now that I'm looking at the membersnutrition.com super text line, a lot of folks are mad at me because I played Tim Walz instead of listening to Jay Sinclair talk about the law and all things legal. He is our legal correspondent. He's a good Tennessee man. He is my life consultant and my gambling and golfing buddy. He's Jay Sinclair, ladies and gentlemen. Jay, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
If I was any better, man, I'd be one of your dogs.
It's Munson. It's Larry Munson. Ms. Beasley's got a muscle strain in one of her legs.
Well, that's shocking.
I know. Much as she won't stop jumping off things that are like 6 feet high in the air, and she's hurt one of her legs.
Oh.
I know. Well, she'll be all right. She'll be all right. Give her a baby aspirin. She'll be just fine. Jay, I noticed that, and the answer may be nothing, Matt. It's no biggie. There's an election going on, and we're focused on that. But I noticed that the United States Supreme Court is back in session.
First Monday in October.
Yep. Is there anything that you've seen that might be of interest to the audience that the court is? I noticed that they were not taking up. I just noticed a couple of things they weren't taking up, and I'm curious if you noticed anything that they were taking up that might be of interest. The one that I noticed that they said they passed on was the cake baker out in Colorado. This poor fella who can't stay out of. I mean, good for him, I guess, because he's like, look, y'all, I'm trying to bake cakes for people. If you have a gay wedding and you want to, just leave me be, and they won't, but. Thankfully, he was on the right side of that issue, and the Supreme Court said, we're not dealing with this anymore, and I liked that.
Right.
Anything else?
No, not really. Not that I think that there's a little technical stuff that people in specific little areas would be interested in. But I'm more interested, frankly. I think the audience may be more interested in. You remember Trump's civil fraud case?
Uh-huh, I do.
With just in front of a judge and hit him for like $400 million or
mm-hmm.
something. Excuse me, it's worked its way up on appeal. They had an oral argument in that case this week. And, I've learned my lesson. Don't draw hard conclusions from oral arguments. But it's pretty clear to everyone who's read the transcript that this case is going to get thrown out. And Trump's going to win it. But the thing I'm curious about, man, is whether they will issue that decision before the election. It's close. It's like 3 weeks, and they could if they wanted to. The timing is purely political. But imagine if 4 days before the election, the New York Court of Appeals comes out and says this case was a travesty. It never should have been brought, and they were even talking about sanctioning the lawyers that brought it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. No, it was that dramatic. And everything about this case has been political, and so I think the timing of their decision will be political. And it's New York, so my instincts tell me they'll wait until after the election to get it right. But they might do it before the election. I don't know. I think that's the most interesting thing on the legal front right now.
So remind me, they were at one point, this James lady in New York, if I'm remembering this correctly, she was declaring that she was getting ready to seize all of his New York assets, right?
That's right. No, that's exactly right. They were going to make him post some astronomical bond They appealed that, and they said, "Nah, just 150 million. Look, we're just going to hit you for chump change, Trump. 150 million.
Instead of the 400 or whatever. Yeah, just give us 150 and we'll call it good for now.
Just whatever you got in your wallet. 150 million, that'll work. So this is my crystal ball tells me that case is going away. It really never should have been brought. It's a travesty, and the judges got it all, Matt. They're saying, now wait a minute, the people you claim that got injured, they came to court and testified for Trump,
right?
And said, no, we weren't defrauded at all. We made money,
right? This is the case. I mean, and just for those that have forgotten it. Right. This is the one where Trump got some business loans from banks.
Right.
And he was asked, well, what are you worth? And he told them.
Or what's the property worth?
Yeah, right. That's right. And he was accused of overinflating his worth to get a better interest rate. And
or to get the loans.
Right, to get the loans. And the bank said, well, no, we do our own due diligence. And we got all of our money back. And we wouldn't have done anything differently. I mean, so there's no victim.
No, and they also said this is even better than that. They said, "Oh, we didn't even look at his stuff. We don't. He's Donald Trump. We've been doing business with this guy for 20 years. Right. We've loaned him billions of dollars, and every bit of it has been repaid with interest.
Right.
Any bank would love to have Donald Trump as a customer, and so they got it." And I believe that the whole case will get thrown out. My only question is, will that happen before the election?
And it's
I say no, but we'll see.
So it's possible. I mean, this is the United States Supreme Court or the
no, it's the
New York
Court of Appeals in New York.
Okay,
this was a state court.
Okay, that makes more sense to me now. I get it. So it's a state line. So. So being in New York, you feel like they're going to, even if they have come to their conclusion, they're not going to throw it out there because they don't want to.
But I'll say this about it, Matt. The whole thing was so political and the outcome was so outrageous that a lot of business people, particularly in the real estate market, said, we're not doing business in New York anymore. This is awful. This is like a third world country. I mean, they can come, it's like Venezuela.
Right.
They're just going to take your whole company anytime they want to. And the Court of Appeals, the judge, he didn't care about all that. Well, the Court of Appeals, the New York Court of Appeals does. They want people to do business in New York. So they got to make this right. And if they want to make it right and really send a message, then issue that decision before the election.
Man, I would love it. Love it. But your crystal ball feels like it's not going to happen. Yeah. 23 after the hour.
Listen, Matt, it is about as likely that would happen that Vanderbilt would beat Alabama.
Mark it. I was betting how long it would take him. Look, 23 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7. I knew he'd get one in there. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, back in a moment. Hey, guys, it's Matt Murphy. Excited to tell you about a wonderful new development at Brentwood Hearing Center. Their team of audiologists and doctors are always committed to providing patients with the most recent technological hearing devices available. And their leadership team recently attended the launch of a revolutionary new hearing aid called the Phonak Sphere. It's dedicated to helping patients hear well in situations where there is extensive background noise, with a computer chip completely dedicated to addressing speech and noise. The Phonak Sphere will help you out at a dinner party, help you at a sporting event, any place that there's extensive noise in the background and you're trying to hear one-on-one conversations, they're going to be able to help you at Brentwood Hearing Center. So I invite you to give them a call and schedule an appointment today. If you cannot hear, this problem is not going to go away on its own. It's something that you can deal with and get back to life again through Brentwood Hearing Center. Call Ronnie and his team of audiologists at 615-377-0420, 377-0420, or go to BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing for a better life.
I want to go back to something you said on Tuesday. You said, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. But the campaign came out later that night, and they said that's not their stance.
Got a crash blocking your way, 40 eastbound near Church Street. And we have learned the official cause of death to a very popular reality TV show. We'll tell you about it at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. Jay Sinclair, our legal man, is on the line with us answering all of our legal questions. Get him in here, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Jay, this, and I want to ask you this because I think I'm right on it, but I want to make sure. Someone said, hey, I thought the whole sentencing on that was sometime between the election and the inauguration. That's the criminal case.
Right. There's two cases up in New York. One was a civil case. The other is a criminal case. So, and that's what the listener is referring to there. But yeah, and the listener's right. The sentencing in the criminal case was going to come after the election. This is a completely different case.
Right.
How many? Well, I was about to say same kangaroo court, but it's maybe two different kangaroo courts.
How many judges will be deciding the civil? Five
Judge panel.
And so once again, I know you said this right from the jump, and you've told me this repeatedly, is Matt, don't listen to Supreme Court arguments and think you can get where they're going based on the questions that they ask.
No, but with my case in front of the Supreme Court, I walked in and I said, oh, we got Justice Ginsburg. She's with us. She read her whole dissent.
I was about to say, Jay, did you have Justice Ginsburg? No. You did not. But in this case, you feel like some of the language being used in that situation, that they are just pointing directly to the politicalization of this process.
Exactly. They said that. I mean, one of the judges just asked, well, just looking at all of this, it seems to me the only reason this case was brought is this fellow was running for president of the United States. I mean, he said it right out loud, man.
I love it. In New York, he said it.
New York
City. Jay, a number of questions coming in for you. Does Tom have a question for Jay Bell? I didn't know if he had a question for Jay on the line or if that was something that was for later.
That's for later.
Okay, you just got to let me know on those. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get to these questions that are a lot of them coming in from the Members Nutrition line, several employment-based questions, and I know that Jay loves those, but we'll do that after Mr. Ken Weaver gets on these news headlines, and he's doing that right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. American picker star Frank Fritz's official cause of death has been released. The New York Post says TMZ obtained the death certificate, which states it was a stroke brought on by cerebral vascular disease, which affects blood flow and the blood vessels in the brain. He also had aortic stenosis and COPD. The reality star passed away at the age of 60 on September 30th. President Biden's going to Florida Sunday, where recovery from Hurricane Milton is underway. No word on which cities Biden will visit or who will be with him. Governor Ron DeSantis this morning updating his state on Milton's recovery efforts.
We're now in the period where you have fatalities that are preventable. We have had fatalities because of interaction with downed power lines and water. We are seeing hazards that are still there. So please exercise caution.
Here in Nashville, the Metro Police Department announcing the arrest of a 20-year-old they say used Facebook Marketplace to lure his victims into a robbery. Police say Yordi Gutierrez would post a Toyota Corolla for sale on Facebook Marketplace, then meet the victims at locations on Old Hickory Boulevard, pull a gun on them, steal the money they brought for the transaction. One person actually lost an iPhone and a license plate in a robbery there. Parents in Texas demanding action after multiple employees at an elementary school allegedly gave sleeping aid patches containing melatonin to their 4-year-olds. Here's Lisa Luviano, whose 4-year-old daughter was involved.
It caught mine and Dad's attention, and we asked, "What did you say?" And she said, "It's a sleeping sticker." And I asked her, "Where do you get this?" She's like, "Well, my teacher gives it to me for sleeping time."
Yeah, the district telling ABC station KTRK that the staff members in question were immediately removed from the classroom and placed on administrative leave pending an ongoing investigation by the district's police department. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, here till 3, The Drive with Brian Wilson at that time. Thank you for being with us. 615-737-9986. We're in the midst of a Friday edition with our good friend, legal correspondent, life consultant, and gambling buddy, Jay Sinclair. Jay, one question that has come in regard to the conversation we were having about the civil case. Joe writes and says, would you please ask Jay if anything might happen to the judge in the New York real estate case because of the gross bias exhibited at the trial level? Is Jay there? No.
Yep. No, I'm being very thoughtful about my response. I do not believe any official action will be taken against the judge.
Right.
The Trump folks could file an ethics complaint against him, but those are just rarely successful against judges unless they really have if they take a bribe or something like that. And there's no suggestion there. So, no, I don't believe there will be any official consequences against the judge. Look, our system's good, but it's not perfect. Man.
Well, you and I have talked about this for many years, and I don't know that we've had a robust conversation about it since I've been in Nash. But the concept of a loser pays system would repair some of this stuff because, I mean, the natural question that comes up, and obviously you're the expert in this line, but if you can't do anything from the judge perspective and you can't do anything to keep the prosecutors from doing this or the people from suing him, I mean, so in this case it was the I guess the city or the state, but in a civil trial, how do I keep people from just throwing these things and costing me so much money in legal fees? And
loser pays. That's absolutely the answer. And what that means is that whoever loses the lawsuit has to pay the other side's attorney's fees.
Mm-hmm.
Passing that one law, man, would get rid of the 80% of the garbage lawsuits that get filed. If that law were in place in New York, I was about to say I don't believe this lawsuit would have been filed. Yes, it would. They don't care, right? Because it's not their money.
Right. That's the state.
Taxpayers.
Right. So,
they would be looking at writing. I bet Trump's paid. I don't know. It's at least $100 million in legal fees. That's the only good part of this story, man.
So, Jay, then that begs the question: why don't we see more politicians recommending that we go to a loser pays system?
That's a brilliant question, Matt. What percentage of politicians do you think are lawyers?
I'm sorry.
I'll tell you the answer to this question, Bill. Why don't politicians want to pass loser pays? It's the golden rule. The golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. That's why it didn't pass.
I was setting you up for your old line that Jay's been pulling on me for years. Lawyers got to eat too.
That's right. Lawyers are people too, man. Well, that's why I said the only silver lining around this lawsuit is that Trump's lawyers got paid $100 million.
That's right.
That would slip right by you, and that's the only happy part of this whole thing.
Is that lawyers get a little cash to spend on things that lawyers spend money on, like I don't know,
look, we're
golf.
People too, man. We got to eat just like everybody else.
Jay, 1946 wants to know, how do I go about buying mineral rights on my property? Part of what I love about what we do is Jay does not have any foreknowledge of any of these questions. And so it is truly just I'm slinging things at him, and he's just got to swing at them as they come. So, Jay, mineral rights on property. What do you think?
Well, when you go to a good law school, man, stuff sticks with you a long time. So it's not like I'm just shooting in the dark.
Where'd you go to law school?
Yale.
Where'd you go to law school? Never. I never think.
Well, always.
I never think that's not funny.
Hey,
Weaver, that's the first time. Hey, Ken Weaver's in the newsroom, Jay. I don't know if you can hear him. You've never heard that one, have you?
I have not.
I'm going to do it again just for Ken. Jay, where'd you go to law school?
Yale.
Where'd you go to law school? I love it every time. Ken, Jay and I have been doing that joke for 20 years, and we laugh at it Every time.
That's awesome.
But anyway,
Yeah,
all right, property.
The answer to the question is, first of all, you have to find out who owns those mineral rights. And so you got to do a deed search. You can maybe try to do that yourself, but yeah, it'd take a long time. I'd hire a lawyer just to do a search of the deeds and figure out who owns it. Right, that's the first thing, who owns it, and then go to that person or entity, it's probably a company, and make them an offer.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, you got to find out who owns it. And so there's a deed somewhere. People don't understand that oftentimes you don't own the mineral rights underneath your house.
Well, I was going to back up a little bit, and I was going to say, Jay, I'm publicly educated in the state of Georgia, so you got to go slow with me. So if I buy a piece of property, that doesn't necessarily mean that I own the minerals underneath me?
That's exactly right. It all depends on what's in the deed, and it's common, particularly common in the areas where there are a lot of minerals, particularly coal. If you're in an area where there are coal seams, it's very likely that you don't own the dirt all the way down to the center of the earth. If there are minerals down there, they don't belong to you. If there's coal seam 1,000 foot deep.
Boy, I was just, it's weird this question comes up because I was just listening to Milton Friedman.
Well, I saw that, man, and it made me so happy. Maybe you knew about him before me, but I know we've talked about him. I told you when I was at the university, you've asked me when I formed my political views and whatnot, and I told you. It was at the University of Tennessee. I was studying economics, and I was introduced to Milton Friedman.
Well, I was aware of Milton Friedman and aware of his philosophies, but I was not as intimately aware of him as I've gotten since you and I have been friends. And yeah. I applaud. I wish more people were learned about the way that he that he believed and his economic philosophy and policy and his just beliefs on life and good government. And he was speaking, the clip, I might play it for the audience later. The clip was in regards to what the role of government is. And he brought up property rights. And he brought up the example, well, if an airplane flies 10,000 feet above your house, are they violating your property rights? Well, if they fly 10 feet above your house, right, are they violating your? See, that's where government comes in to figure out where that line is, because it's not a clear, bright line. It's a gray area, and the government has to establish the rule of law in that regard.
Darren, let me just put a plug in. Anybody that's interested in this, you got plenty of time. I'm sure you can get it for just about free. Get the book by Milton Friedman called Liberty and Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sign reading for me at Tennessee when I was in college there studying economics. Changed my worldview. Liberty and Freedom by Milton Friedman.
And, it's funny when you talk about property rights and mineral rights and whatnot, where you are in the United States of America, you have to adjust your thinking on what you might have ownership of and what you might not. I know because of Erica's family back in New Mexico. In New Mexico, you know what the big deal is, right, Jay?
Water.
That's right. You do not necessarily own the water on your property just because you own the property. Somebody else might own the water rights to your property.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Please ask Jay if your general manager, and I think this is just a generalized question, if your general manager fails to write up an incident report upon getting hurt at work, can I do anything legally about that? I love the phrasing of the question, but I think you get the spirit.
I'm not really sure what so if you got hurt at work, it doesn't matter whether the company did an incident report or not. You're still eligible for workers' compensation. So if the question is, am I still eligible for workers' compensation? The answer is yes.
Okay.
If you're saying that your general manager just failed to do his job, that the workers' comp's being taken care of, or maybe you weren't hurt and you don't need anything, can you personally do anything about your boss not correctly doing his job? Really, all you can do is go complain to his boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm right in the middle of this situation like this right now, where somebody just, so it was a plant manager, wasn't doing his job, and the people reported to him, complained above him. You can go to him, but it's not going to do any good. So if you're just saying, if my boss is not doing his job, what can I do? Well, you can go report it to his boss. But he's going to find out about it.
Well, that's right.
And then he may not like you.
Well, if you what's the old saying? If you go after the king, if you shoot at the king, you better hit him.
If you're going to shoot at the king, you better not miss.
Yeah, that's right. Question for Jay: I love HOA. HOA questions reminds me. Remember HOA Karen back in Helena, Alabama? Remember that lady that I fought with so much? Question: I was in a part of an HOA for a while, and it did not go well. Anybody understanding my personality will recognize that type of thing wouldn't go well with me. How do I get out of an HOA? My house was built in 1973. The subdivision built in 2008 and 2009. The lady that owned the house in that particular time joined the HOA in order to hook up to the septic system. Thank you very much, Steve from Mount Juliet.
Steve, that's going to be a question of your deed again. Your deed, you need to look at your deed and look at if there is a restrictive covenant in the deed that says that to own this property, you must be a member of the HOA. It's all a matter of contract. And so if that's in your deed, then if you own that property, you have to be in the HOA. If it's not in your deed, if the prior owner just signed a separate contract, well, then that contract doesn't apply to you. You can just send them a letter and say, I'm withdrawing from the HOA. I wasn't clear. Is it clear from his question, Matt, whether the prior owner joined the HOA before he bought the property?
Yeah, that is my interpretation of the question. I'll just read it again. My house was built in 1973, and the subdivision was built in 2008, 2009. The lady that owned the house at that particular time joined the HOA in order to hook up to the septic system. And so
so the question is, when she joined the HOA, I doubt she put that in the deed.
Right.
That's just something that she signed. And even if she signed it and purported to bind subsequent purchasers, I don't think that's valid.
Okay.
So I'd have to see the paperwork, but my guess is there's not a restrictive covenant in your deed requiring you to be in the HOA. So I suspect you can probably just write a letter and say, I'm out.
Let me know how it goes, 1081. I would love to hear the outcome of that because I have a particular interest in watching HOAs take it in the short hairs. 0470. Well, I mean, HOA Karens, you know what I'm saying. The short hairs being the short little hairs on the back of one's neck. 0476 says, in Tennessee, my mom passed away. I'm sad to hear that. Brother kept all of mom's things and money. No will. I filed for executorship to the probate court, and I have an attorney. Do you have any predictions, or I guess they're asking you for any advice regarding the outcome in this case? So,
well, if you die without a will, and I'm assuming your dad predeceased her, and so if there are two children, y'all split the estate 50-50. And so if your brother has gone in and kind of grabbed stuff, then you'll probably be entitled to some of that. It's a 50-50 split in Tennessee if there's two surviving children and no surviving spouse. So you've done exactly what you need to do. Get a lawyer, file, open up a probate estate. And then you got to go do an accounting, right, and go find out what all was there. And by law, your brother has to tell the truth about what he kept. But, yeah, you at the end of the day, y'all should end up with a 50-50 split.
Jay, as always, we run out of time before we run out of questions, but I'll save them for next week, my friend, and I appreciate you. Any thoughts on the Vols this weekend taking on the hated Florida Gators, right?
Well, they playing football? It's funny, Matt, because when I was coming up, in the 70s, Alabama was clearly the number one rival, right? I mean, it goes back a long, long time. But, once it went to the division play, that changed a little bit. Like my son, in his early 40s, grew up in the 90s. No, we're living in Alabama. He still hates Alabama worse than Florida. But Florida's pretty close second. We'll see. It was a disappointing game last week, but, just take them one at a time.
Humility is only a week away. And
that's it.
My entire commentary about last week's games was there's no shame in losing to Bama. I said
well,
that.
let's see. The NIL thing's going to make it more like it's going to be like the NFL.
That's right. I don't think any team in the SEC is getting out without a loss this year. I just don't.
Yep.
Jay, love you, brother. Hit them straight.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, take care. There's Jay Sinclair, our good friend, legal correspondent, life consultant, and gambling buddy. It's 52 after the hour. So it is the midst of October. I mean, it just snuck up on me. I don't know how you feel about it, but if you're getting ready for pumpkin pie season, then you need pumpkin pie spice. And the place to get pumpkin pie spice is Savory Spice. 2 locations to serve you. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. You know, I learned something years ago. It was people, I don't say that Holly taught me this directly. I learned this just before I met Holly, but she has reconfirmed it in my brain that do you know how much pumpkin pie spice has in it? Absolutely none. It's what you add to the pumpkin to make it taste delicious when you eat those pumpkin pies in the fall season. Now, they also have tailgating supplies for you. If you're still tailgating at the ball games and you want something for the grill, for the burgers, for the chops, or whatever you happen to be cooking, they've got that at Savory Spice as well. Plus, it is chili season, ladies and gentlemen. When it gets down into the 30s, it's time to eat some chili. And if you're looking for some delicious recipes or mixes for chili, they've got them at Savory Spice as well. Plus, they've got the Spice and Easy line always ready for you. Whether you're an experienced chef or a newbie to the kitchen, you need to get over to the Savory Spice because they up your spice game, and that ups your food game. One location in Nashville, that's L&L Market on Charlotte Pike. The other's in Franklin, just off the square. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Checking traffic. We've got a crash in the way. 40 eastbound near Church Street. This is exit 209A. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Hurricane Helene recovery update. Tennessee speeding things up with what is reported to be a first-of-its-kind contract to rebuild 2 of the bridges taken out along the Nolichucky River in East Tennessee. TDOT announced today it awarded the state's inaugural Progressive Design Build contract. It would allow for reconstruction activities and projects to overlap so travel can improve as quickly as possible. Survey and design are already underway, additional safety measures being installed. Construction is expected to begin in January and wrap up in June. New details emerging, meanwhile, from that accident inside of a tourist mine in Teller County, Colorado. Alex Stone reports.
What went wrong in the elevator in a shaft about 500 feet down, investigators say is not yet clear. The elevator may have dropped a bit and something happened with the doors. But Teller County Sheriff Jason Mikesell says 46-year-old tour guide Patrick Weir was killed, the father of a 7-year-old child.
I will tell you that we did lose a person in our local community who will be missed.
12 other people who were trapped in the mine after the accident were rescued uninjured hours later.
Election 2024. Former President Trump goes to Aurora, Colorado today. Earlier this week, he claimed Venezuelan immigrants had taken over buildings there with, quote, weapons that even our military doesn't have. The mayor there says that is not true. Trump going there to talk about immigration. Meanwhile, a new Wall Street Journal poll is out, and Fox News says it shows Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris locked in a dead heat in 7 battleground states. The survey of 600 registered voters in each of the states found Trump and Harris tied in North Carolina and Wisconsin. Harris leading Trump 48% to 46% in Arizona and Georgia, and 49% to 47% in Michigan. In Nevada, Trump has his biggest swing state lead of 49% to 43%, while he leads Harris in Pennsylvania, 47% to 46%. And parents in Texas are demanding action after multiple employees at an elementary school allegedly gave sleeping aid patches containing melatonin to their 4-year-olds. Stephanie Ramos has details about one family involved. It includes Lisa Luviano and her 4-year-old daughter.
Luviano says she went to the school the next day to report the sticker she believes was melatonin, but claims her concerns weren't immediately addressed.
They said they were going to keep up with us, that they're here for us. 2 days later, she calls back. The teacher's still there.
The district telling ABC station KTRK the staff members in question were immediately removed from the classroom and placed on administrative leave pending an ongoing investigation by the Spring ISD Police Department.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, guys. USS stands for United Structural Systems. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means this, that if you have something going on in your residence or your commercial property, really, but we talk about residences more than anything, and it involves the foundation of your home particularly, or if you have water issues within the basement or crawl space of your home. Maybe you've noticed standing water in the crawl space. Maybe you've just smelled a smell that smells musty or moldy. You've asked yourself why your home is constantly wet, if you have poor drainage or surface water, flooding over the walls, whatever the issue might be, if it involves the foundation of your home, USS needs to be there for you. These problems simply will not go away on their own. You need experts to diagnose and figure out what's happening, and the quicker you get them out, the better, because it's going to be less expensive that way. That's the bottom line. Now, of course, they do concrete leveling as well with their incredible polylift system, which is just incredible to watch. I did this in Birmingham. When I owned my home in Birmingham, and it was amazing to watch as the concrete would lift up, it would level up, and then you could seal it off, and it's so much less expensive than concrete replacement. Give them a call at 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. 25,000 satisfied residential customers. Referrals online at ussTN.com. Friends, it's time to get this problem handled and sleep better tonight with USS. All right, here we go. It's hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Show, our final hour of the week, and we're going to make it a good one on Super Talk 99.7 WT. And if I do say so myself, and I do say so myself because I'm the host of the show, Ken Weaver's back in the newsroom. Ken Weaver's gathering headlines. Bell K's gathering your telephone calls at 615-737-9986. He's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. Tom's been holding on for a while out of Hendersonville, wants to talk Electoral College. Just admonish Tom, or let him know. Don't admonish him. Let him know that I'm going to grab Steve real quick because I don't know how long he's going to be on the line, and then we'll get to Tom jiffy quick. Steve Antle is our man on the ground in Fairview, North Carolina. If you've not been listening over the last week or two, we've been communicating with Steve, trying to get some eyeballs on exactly what's happening over there. Steve was a police officer in Nashville for many, many years. He lives in Fairview now, and he's been coordinating relief effort for those individuals in the Fairview area and beyond. Hendersonville, North Carolina, not Tennessee, North Carolina, also Asheville, obviously, and parts all around there. And Steve is calling in today with another update. Steve, first and foremost, I hope you're doing well, you and your family.
Doing good. I'm tired, but I'm moving forward. I've got my daughter here, Megan. You met her before, and I've got my grandson, Rush. He's sitting down here listening, and I got a special guest today, especially for my Murray County people, Charlie Ray Howell, who is a local celebrity race car driver down out of there.
Absolutely.
And and he's got an interesting story of his own, but he put together a bunch of donations they were collecting at the Columbia Mall and at the CB in Mount Pleasant. And so all of that stuff just rolled into our parking lot right now. And when we get off the phone, we're going to start unloading that trailer. And so I wanted to just call today because of the connection we have with our Middle Tennessee family there and how they're helping here. So say hello, Charlie.
Hello, guys. How are y'all?
Charlie, doing well. It is great to talk to you. I'm a big fan of racing. I'm a big fan of yours. I love what you enjoy doing on your weekends, but I appreciate even more what you are doing for the folks over there in North Carolina. Talk to me about getting this stuff together.
I was sitting in the shop last Thursday, and when everything kind of went down, and I was sitting there, and I said, you know what? I said, I got these trailers sitting here in my driveway, these triple axle trailers. Why can't I load up one or two of them? What's it going to hurt me to drive them over to North Carolina? I've never took on anything, I guess, this category of a size, but it was devastating to me, and I just couldn't turn away from it. So I said, I'm loading these trailers up. So I've only ended up loading up one, and when I say it's packed to the gill, it is packed to the gill. It's all the trailer wants, I promise.
Did you drive it up there, Charlie?
Yes, I actually have a toter home, and it's pretty much a big truck, what it is, and that's what I pulled the trailer with, because a regular F-350 did not want none.
I love it. Well, what? Just give me your kind of. I don't know if this is the first time you've been over, since Helene descended upon North Carolina. I mean, what's it look like over there? What's your first impressions?
They're right down the road here. I mean, when you pull in, there's people. I mean, their houses are just evacuated. I mean, they're getting out what they can or what's left. I didn't actually go downtown Asheville, of course, but what I did see right here, right where we're at, it is that was enough for me. It's bad.
Yeah.
So,
well, God bless you for getting stuff over to the folks that need it. What I imagine that when you put the call out, tell me how all of that happened. Did you just put a call out to folks to get your trailer loaded up, or how did all that come together, Charlie?
Well, it kind of comes to a, it kind of comes to a deal, or it comes to a thing. I race for those who can't. That's my motto. That's how I race. And at this time of need, these people needed help. Can I tell them? You can tell him.
Charlie is paralyzed from the waist down.
Well, Steve, don't ruin don't ruin the end of it. I was holding that one till the end because most people might not recognize it. That Charlie Howell was in an automobile accident in what? When was it, Charlie? 2010?
Yeah, 2010.
And he races, and you race cars without the use of your legs. Is that right?
Yes.
How do you do that? How do you do that, Charlie?
So my throttle, brake, and clutch is all in my right hand, and I steer with my left, and I have a tear-off button on my steering wheel, and I can operate the tear-off machine on my helmet.
That's incredible, man.
So, my hands are full.
I bet they are.
It's a one-of-a-kind operation. You're not going to see that kind of equipment anywhere else.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, Charlie, God bless you for helping the people over there. We're trying to do what we can from Nashville and our part of the world in Middle Tennessee, and you're just making us proud getting over there and helping the folks out. Steve, what else do you need, man? What's going on? What can you tell us about the temperatures, and what type of success are you having with your kerosene heater hunt?
Temperatures were in the middle 30s today. We got people still up in the upper areas that, of course, they're not going to have power or water for the foreseeable future. We need propane stoves. We need propane heaters. I need kerosene heaters, kerosene jugs. I am in the process of trying to procure those, and the problem right now is not really funds, because I had an influx of some donation money come in, but the problem is they're sold out here locally. So I'm having to round them up from other cities and then get like a network of people to get them to us. So that's what we're facing now. But they put the SOS out on the heaters and stuff a couple days ago. I also put that into Samaritan's Purse, and they didn't have those on hand like they did the generators, so they're having to procure those, which is going to take a little bit longer before they can drop them by helicopter. So we're worried about like the immediate.
Well, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hold on, I got kids. On the other hand, on the plus side, 2 of my tractor trailers are here. One's here at the church where we're at, and I took the other one out to our forward operating base this morning, and that gave me a nervous breakdown trying to get that truck all the way out there. And but we managed to get it situated, and I got 2 or 3 more in the pipeline. Meisler Trucking out of Middle Tennessee, B&W Trucking out of Burlington, North Carolina. They're the same company, just different hubs. They're both telling me whatever I need, so we're getting them in.
Well, Steve, folks can find out more on your Facebook page. That's obviously a good way to get a hold of you. I've been promoting your Venmo if people want to give donations. I believe and I trust and in getting to know Steve, this is going to a good place. He's documenting everything he's doing with the money, the donations received online with regularity. You're updating us online with regularity. But would you suggest that your primary focus right now is to make sure that people that are going to be without power get those heaters that they need? I mean, is that what we should be focusing on?
Heaters and the stoves, the ability to cook.
All right.
They can't really, they can't really just leave their property. They just can't up and go. And until the roads are sufficiently repaired, the people way up in the valley, are still, their only transport is four-wheelers and so forth. So the Corps of Engineers and the construction people are working on repairing the last road out there, but it's still hairy getting out there. I mean, it's a challenge just to drive, just to drive normal. I don't know how we managed to get that truck out there. We almost had a collision with a dump truck, but it missed by like mere millimeters. That's how tight it is.
Wow.
So,
wow. Are things? Are you seeing? I mean, I imagine every day there's examples of forward progress. I mean, I wouldn't suggest that you're going to be back to normal ever, really. But do you see that there is progress being made with regard to roads getting opened up, those that are still there, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we're just chipping away at it. It's just a very difficult process given the terrain. And, we've been blessed with really, really super great weather. And I don't want to jinx it, but the forecast, even for the next several days, it's just been clear and sunny. The temperatures are getting cold at night, but as far as being able to work, they've got perfect weather to do what they got to do. So I know that they're doing everything that they can as fast as they can. Asheville's making good progress on their water line repairs. They had another announcement today that they're announcing it in terms of milestones as far as what they're getting repaired. The reservoir that feeds all of Asheville was severely damaged, so they were having to replace like 36-inch pipes, and they were having to replace all kinds of other stuff related to the reservoir. And so that's, we're working on it.
Steve, what else do we need to know? Anything for the update today?
Now, just follow my Facebook, and I unfortunately put my rant pants on this morning, so if you go to my Facebook, you'll see a highly detailed rant about our FEMA people, but I'm not going to broadcast that over the radio. You can go to my Facebook and read what I wrote, but I just wrote the facts as it is. And
well, heck, I'll broadcast it over the radio. You don't have to, Steve. That's what I'm here for. Antle is Antle, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Steve, Steve, Antle, Antle, and the Venmo's the same with a hyphen in between the first and last name.
Charlie, if you're still there, are you doing any racing at the Fairground Speedway in Nashville?
No, I'm on dirt.
Oh, okay. You're always on dirt.
Somebody wants to fund it. I mean, I wouldn't.
Well, if I went and dumped a couple of loads out there, you'd probably get out there and run on it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Did you?
Charlie and I lived just a couple miles from each other, and I lived in Mount Pleasant for the better part of the last 10 years, and so we saw each other on a regular basis. And I was working part-time for a parts house out there for Advance Auto, and I would deliver parts to Charlie, and that's how we got to know each other. And, of course, just like here, everybody there is related. Everybody knows everybody. And so that's how Charlie and I knew each other. And I guess he picked me off of, Facebook because we've been friends for a while and decided this was where his first shipment was going to go. But you got a load going to East Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take a load. So I'm staying away from FEMA. I'm staying away from the government.
Yep, good for you.
My truck will not stop. If I see the first government vehicle in the parking lot, I will keep rolling. So I'm going to do more. This is just not my first trip. So if Steve calls and says, "Hey, we need this," I'll do it again, and I'll head back over here. But for the next few weeks, months, next year, I'll keep doing it. So as long as they need help, I'm here to help them.
Man, Charlie, that's great. That's great. You're a good man. You're a good patriot and a good Tennessean, and I appreciate you stepping up as you can and helping out where you can. By the way, real quick, Steve, that the trailers, that's our trailer, right? That's our guy Brent that got those from you from Meisler. Is that not right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I just want to give him a plug.
The one sitting here at the church, at our church, it came from Brent Long at Meisler. And then the one that came today came from their sister company in Burlington, and that's the one that's out at Spring Mountain. And then Brent's got another one. It was already supposed to be here, but the driver's truck broke down, so they're getting another driver, and he told me today it'll be here tomorrow. So,
Well, that's what it's all about, man. And I am so proud of the state of Tennessee for doing what they're doing for East Tennessee. I'm so proud of Tennessee helping out our neighbors in North Carolina, and just so proud to be associated with the likes of Steve Antle and Charlie. God bless you, brother. And look, hey, this is how much I know about racing. You ready, Charlie?
Yeah.
Hey, who's better, asphalt or dirt? Who are better? Who are better race car drivers? Guys that get on asphalt or guys that get on dirt?
Guys that get on dirt, because you can put the guys on dirt, put them on asphalt, and they can save it every time.
I had a guy tell me one time as a dirt track racer, and he goes, "Man, asphalt's what you use to get to the racetrack."
Hey, it is. So, but no, if anybody would like to read anything on me, to kind of find out a little bit more about me, just Google me. He's outside.
Charlie Ray Howell is an absolute inspiration. He did not. How long did you race before the accident? Before your?
I've raced since I was 7 years old.
And is it the story I heard about you? And this is from memory, but didn't you tell your daddy in the hospital room that you were going to race again?
Yes, I did.
Good gracious. Good for you, buddy.
I did. I sure did. I told him, I said, I'm going to get back in the car. And he said, we need to worry about getting you home first.
Hey, I'm going to see if somebody will say hi to you, Rush. Can you say hi to Matt? Say hi, Matt.
Rush, can you say hi? I'll get you some candy if you do.
Bribery.
Say hi.
Now he gets shy.
That's all right. Hey, Rush.
Sitting there grinning.
How's it going, Rush? Oh, well.
He's so shy. All it is a phone call. Okay.
Well, hey, guys, normally I have that impact on women, not little kids, but, I get it. Hey, guys, y'all have as good a weekend as you possibly can. God bless every single one of you, and we'll direct folks over to the Facebook page, Steve, and let me know if you need anything, buddy.
Thank you.
All right?
And I'll check in with you next week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Let's do it. I mean, there's God's people out there, man. Steve Antle, Charlie Ray Howell, helping out, bringing a load over. And thanks again to, I think I'm mispronouncing their names. I think it's Meisler, not Meisler, but trucking company. Brent, our man Brent, we connected the two, and he got a couple of 53-footers out there to assist. What an incredible job the neighbors of that community are doing, helping their neighbors. Not so much for FEMA. I'll tell you about that in just a moment, 22 after the hour. We'll get to Tom's call. Tom, you've been holding a long time. Don't make it go to waste by hanging up now. We'll talk Electoral College next on Super Talk. Of the men that end up in prison, and sadly there are far too many of them that are ending up in prison, but of those that do end up incarcerated, 90% of them are getting out. 90% of the men that go to jail are going to leave that facility at some point or another. And sadly, I'm here to report to you that about 50% of those that get out will return to prison within 3 years, unless they are discipled to, unless they find a different way, unless they're given hope, unless they're given a different option for their future. And that's exactly what Men of Valor does. On a regular basis, Men of Valor is there to assist these men in the places that they find them, in the prison systems and beyond. They need help, though. Men of Valor not only needs your donations, but they also need volunteers in their prison systems, at their campus, in their aftercare reentry program, as well as job partners, Bible study teachers, mentors that are willing and able to disciple men in their everyday lives. Will you join those of us helping to set these captives free, not from their jail cells, but from their own souls, and help them find a better way? It's possible with Men of Valor. Go to movministry.com. That's movministry.com.
Everybody needs to slow down out there. I know it's Friday, but we've got crashes blocking the way. 40 westbound right before I-65. That's on the South Loop, and it's right there where there's some construction. Then we got 40 eastbound near Church Street. Hurricane recovery update. Tennessee speeding up rebuilds of at least 2 of the bridges destroyed. And a convenience store chain says not enough people are buying cigarettes, so it's got to take drastic measures. Details at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wait, you said not enough people?
Right.
Oh, I can't wait for that story. That's coming up in mere minutes.
Yeah.
On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm going to go out and have a smoke, and I'll be back.
I know what it is.
Do you?
They're going to start doing promotions to get a free pack when you buy some Band-Aids or some
Slurpee.
hydrogen peroxide.
Good idea. If you come in for your inhaler, you can get a free pack of Winston's.
Yeah, when you pick up your asthma medication, get a pack of Marlboros.
Listen, fella, that candy bar is going to make you fat. You know what won't? Some Marlboros.
In fact, if you get cancer, you'll get real skinny.
I don't go about telling business models how to conduct themselves, but everybody freaked out when it was either CVS or Walgreens, one of the two, that stopped selling cigarettes, and everybody's like, what? I'm like,
CVS.
Well, they are a pharmacy. I mean, you can buy cigarettes out there. I mean,
listen, fella, sucking on a corn dog is going to make you fat. Don't
Outside
suck
the
on one of
Tasty
these
Freeze.
here Winstons.
That's true. Hey, by the way, speaking of corn dogs, I saw a story this morning about the corny dogs at the Texas State Fair.
Oh, boy, there's something.
Man.
Yeah, you can get all kinds of stuff on it.
Have you seen the one, Weaver, with the hot dog in the middle of the hamburger and the bun is shaped like both?
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, I want one.
I want one too. I mean, we ought to be influential enough that we could get this for the lunchtime hour and we could sample it right here on the air.
Oh,
don't you think?
That would be great.
If y'all haven't seen this, it's a bun construction that is like a circular bun, but it's got 2 wings on it.
Yeah.
And then they take the hamburger patty and they cut a groove out of the hamburger patty, and the hot dog goes right in the middle of the hamburger patty, and the hamburger patty goes on the bun, the hot dog sticking out, and it's a hot dog hamburger combo.
Yes.
And I want
it's a
one.
stuffed hamburger.
With a hot dog.
Yeah.
Oh, America. That's America right there,
is,
buddy.
man.
You know, you're not getting that in communist China. Getting that in the United States of America. Tom, God bless you. You've been holding so long, and I'm sorry for it. And I've got a couple of minutes, but I'll hold you over to the other side if you need it. What's going on, brother?
Am I on?
Yes, sir, Tom. You're on the radio.
Okay. You guys inspired me earlier when you started talking about the Electoral College and how we vote for the representatives, not for the president directly. So I have a pet peeve when people are like in power, like or in the media, say like Stratham or like Hillary start talking and say that they want to get rid of the Electoral College, like a snap of the fingers, like Obama and his pen saying, I got a pen and he's going to go ahead and write it out. It doesn't work that way because the Electoral College is based in Article 2 of the Constitution. You have to have an amendment to the Constitution to get rid of it, which means if they come out with an amendment, it's got to go through both parts of Congress, president's got to sign off on it, and then it gets sent out to the states, and 3/4 of the states have to agree to that. I don't see 3/4 of the states giving up their power to have a straight election. And again, like I said, it takes 5 years. They've got 5 years to agree to that. See, getting rid of the Electoral College is not going to happen in our lifetime. And yet they talk about it like it's going to be a light switch. Yeah, we're going to get rid of the Electoral College. Flip a switch, it's going to be gone. It's a pipe dream. It will never happen.
I agree with you 100%, Tom. And you'll get.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I'll tell you what. You've got a but, and we got to get to the but on the other side of the news, which we're late for. So I'll get to Tom's but right after this. What? That is absolutely what we'll be doing.
You leave his butt alone.
The man presented his butt, and I'm going to let him do what he needs to do. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. President Biden today receiving a briefing on Hurricanes Milton and Helene, response and recovery efforts, and making remarks. Here he is.
Experts estimate that in its early estimates, it could be more, could be less, but estimate that It's caused damages around $50 billion from Hurricane Milton alone.
Now, Biden saying the government will, quote, do everything it can to help folks pick back up the pieces and get back to where they were. Here in Tennessee, transportation officials speeding up recovery with a first-of-its-kind contract to rebuild at least 2 of the bridges that were destroyed by Helene flooding. It's called a progressive design build that will allow for projects to overlap to resume travel as quickly as possible. The current target to reopen both bridges to traffic is June 23rd. And we've learned about the man who died in yesterday's Colorado tourist gold mine accident.
So he was an employee of the mine. He's one of the tour guides.
That's Teller County Sheriff Jason Mikesell identifying the victim as 46-year-old Patrick Weir, an employee of the Molly Kathleen Gold Mine in Cripple Creek. Mikesell says his deputies are investigating what exactly went wrong.
Currently, we don't know exactly what happened at 500 feet to cause this. That's something we're working through.
Yeah, a group was touring the mine when some kind of failure happened, leaving one person dead and 2 groups stuck underground for hours until they were rescued. A convenience store chain plans to close several hundred stores. CNN says 7-Eleven cites declining sales, declining traffic, inflation, and specifically a decline in the amount of cigarette purchases. The company says it plans to close 444 locations. There are 40 in Tennessee, but we don't know if any of them will be closed because a specific list of closing stores wasn't immediately released. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for U.S. Pest. You just heard about the temperatures dropping down into the 30s. Well, that means that the bugs that are currently outside will be coming into your home if you let them. Are you going to let them? I mean, that's the big question, right? Are you going to allow these communist bugs to come from outside, inside, start glomming on your property, taking your stuff, which is what they want? They want your nice warm walls. They want your food. They want your water. They want the things that you have. Bugs want what you have. You have to stop that from happening. And you do that with a relationship with J.K. and Erica Brister and U.S. Pest. They are the best in Middle Tennessee at stopping the bugs, the little communists, from coming inside and taking what you have. And they do so through full-service pest control. They'll stop all of these pests from coming into your home, like spiders, like fire ants, like roaches, like stink bugs, like ladybugs, ants, and anything else, mice and rodents as well. Termite protection, they've got you handled there as well. With preventative and corrective measures, 100% money-back guarantee, and every home, know this, every home in Tennessee is threatened by termites. And then, of course, their crawl-space services to stop the bugs from getting into those areas as well. Go to uspest.com. That's uspest.com for more information, or better yet, give them a call and schedule an appointment today. They'll give you a free home inspection. 590-1260. That's 590-1260 for U.S. Pest. Do 7-Elevens open before 7 now?
I think they're open 24/7.
Huh. Well, why don't they change their names to 24/7? Isn't that why they're called 7-Eleven? Because they were open at 7 and open until 11? Isn't that right?
Well, you might have people say, wait a minute, that's not a 7-Eleven, that's a 24/7.
Now,
Well, that's right.
You're causing branding problems.
Am I now?
Yeah, it's a big old branding problem.
Stop doing that.
Well, it's like the twice daily. I mean, what can I go once, or am I legally obligated to go another time?
What are we doing twice daily?
We're going there to buy stuff.
Doesn't matter what.
No,
Just anything.
They don't. They do not care. I assure you. They just want you to go twice daily, and if you do, they'll be just fine. They won't be going out of business like 7-Eleven, which is open 24/7, according to Ken Weaver over in the newsroom.
Some of them are.
Some of them are, not all of them. There you go. All right, it's Matt Murphy, by the way. There's Ken Weaver, Bell K behind the glass. We're finishing up, at least I'm finishing up my final 20 minutes before I hand off to Brian Wilson. Ken will be here for the duration. Tom had a big butt, and that's coming up in a moment. Plus, for what? Don't shake your head. That's exactly. He said butt, and I said hold your butt.
You don't have to insult a caller like that.
I'm not insulting him.
You don't need to talk. He's got legit philosophical questions to ask, and you're talking about his physical appearance.
Tom, did you or did you not have a big butt?
Actually, the men in my family were born with flat butts, so that kind of contradicts that.
Okay, then.
My dad was flat, and so was I. And when my daughter was born, my wife said, "If she gets your butt, she's getting implants."
So the Tom family's been taking your no acetol.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Anyway, it was a running joke in my family.
I get it. So what? So you had a further comment about the Electoral College. I didn't want to rush you.
And you got me sidetracked there for a second. It's going to take me a second to regroup myself. Okay. Oh, it was about the about Article 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to hit 70 in just a few months. My generation was in high school back in the 60s and 70s. We all took civics classes back then. So all this I've been telling you would be general knowledge to my generation. The whole bit about the Constitution and Article 2 and the Electoral College. But we've got generations now that, I don't mean to be insulting to them, but they're totally ignorant of all this information. There's things about government, the sections of government, and all that. They have no idea. They're clueless. And when I hear people like Stratham talking about the Electoral College, I think he thinks that he can go in like a light bulb and say, "Okay, you're not here anymore. We don't need you." And talking about general elections and that we should have. What you guys were talking about earlier, just have one big pot of votes, and all the votes on the coast, both coasts there, will control everything. That is so ignorant. The Founding Fathers created the Electoral College so that everybody would have a say in this thing.
And to soften the edges, the rough edges of any sort of direct democracy. I mean, you need to do that to protect yourself against.
They didn't want the tyranny and mob rule that they came across the ocean to get away from.
That's exactly right. Yes, you have to create. This is why we are, and Tom knows this well. And thank you, Tom, for the call. Have a good weekend. It is why we are a form of democracy. A representative republic is a form of democracy called indirect democracy. There's two big forms, right? If you're watching on TV, it's like a pyramid. Democracy. And then there's one, direct democracy. The other is indirect democracy. Every democracy in existence in the world today is an indirect democracy because direct democracy doesn't work. It becomes mob rule, not the rule of law. We believe in the rule of law. That's different. That's different. Now, real quick, before I get to Lindsay, and I'll get to you. Several of you have asked for it, and I'm going to read it because it's really good. You know, Steve, who we've been communicating with for 2 weeks now, he called us out of the blue, wanted to relate what was going on just outside of Asheville, North Carolina, one of the hardest hit areas in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And we've been speaking with him almost on a daily basis since he first called us, trying to get him the help that he needs, a pair of eyes on the ground to make sure that we can cut through the clutter and the nonsense on social media and in the mainstream media. Steve wrote this, and I'm going to read it to you. It's important. I believe that it perfectly synopsizes what we've been discussing these past 2 weeks about the difference between neighbors helping neighbors and the federal government. Steve Antle writes, I'm up early this morning and reading the news on my phone. The back and forth in the presidential race about FEMA response. Here's what I know firsthand being here on the ground daily in this effort in Fairview, North Carolina. When they were putting bodies and people from the earth and trees and rivers, I'm sorry, let me start that paragraph over. When they were pulling bodies and people from the earth and trees and rivers and houses, it was the state, local, and out-of-state police, fire, EMS, search and rescue. It was the Army, primarily the National Guard from North Carolina and other states. It was the 101st Airborne, the 82nd Airborne, neighbors, community members, random strangers. FEMA was nowhere to be found. When we needed food, water, medicine, and clothing, we got it from state and local government, churches, and community members. FEMA was nowhere to be found. When we needed generators, it came from the community and from churches and places like Samaritan's Purse. FEMA was nowhere to be found. When we needed kerosene heaters, the request is being handled by Samaritan's Purse, private donations, and churches. FEMA, nowhere to be found. When we need transport, it's the state and local government, community, churches, the Army, National Guard. FEMA's nowhere to be found. When we need gasoline and water, it's the state and local government doing that, the community, private donations. FEMA, nowhere to be found. When we need all of the other little day-to-day stuff that you don't think about in normal life, the community, the church, private donations, Samaritan's Purse, FEMA is nowhere to be found. I have yet to see a FEMA person in Fairview, writes Steve. I hear they exist, but I travel the entire area several times a day. I haven't seen one. There's not a FEMA person I can find to say, hey, we need 100 heaters, 100 generators, 100 camp stoves, hundreds of gallons of kerosene, gas containers, propane tanks, and on and on and on. No. It's the community, Samaritan's Purse, church, friends, neighbors, state and local government, businesses. FEMA is nowhere to be found. I applied almost 2 weeks ago in 4 separate categories for FEMA relief aid. I got $750. The rest, pending. By the way, this guy's at the epicenter of the disaster. So when I hear the president say they're doing everything possible for storm victims, well, I just don't see it. It's not putting equipment and supplies on the ground where it's needed right now. I have the direct phone number for the director of domestic operations for Samaritan's Purse. I got it within a day. I have the direct phone number for any number of churches or charitable organizations that I can draw on for different resources. I have the direct phone number for state and local government resources. I have the direct phone number for business managers to draw on for various resources. I have private donations and money coming in from friends and strangers, not from FEMA. You know what I don't have? By the way, I would add Steve also has a direct line to us to get information out. You know what I don't have? I don't have a direct line to a FEMA person, anyone who I can call for help. I'm here. I'm on the ground. I'm here day after day. This is fact. So while FEMA might be coordinating behind the scenes, we don't get any direct help or even indirect help that we can see on the ground in Fairview, North Carolina. We can't pick up the phone to anyone in FEMA and say, hey, this is what we need, and we need it ASAP, and get it. You know who we call? We call Samaritan's Purse. We call others, and we get generators. They drop them off the next day from a helicopter. You know what the government's good at in the midst of all this? The mail brought my overdue tax bill because I missed my quarterly payment October 1st.
I'm sorry. That is pathetic.
And he finishes up by saying, all I can say is whatever is happening, please vote like your life depends on it, because ours does. You can't make a phone call and get a FEMA person on the line, but by God, they'll get your tax bill there. They'll find your mailbox for that. Whew. That's strong. And that's from a man on the ground. I've told you for a long time, the only thing that FEMA brings with it is a checkbook. And that money doesn't really exist. That is an epic rant by our man Steve. And I'm glad that I found it, and I'm glad that he wrote it, and I'm glad I related it to you. We'll wrap it up and talk with Brian Wilson in a moment. It's 49 minutes after the hour on Super Talk. All right, I'm in enough trouble, and so I'm going to make way for Brian Wilson and allow him to get into a little bit of. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because I said that Kelly Ripa was too skinny, Brian, and now people are telling me that women are coming out and telling me that calling a woman too skinny is like calling a woman too fat, that it's basically the same thing. I maintain that it is not the same thing at all, but I'm in trouble for it. So there
you know, I found out a long time ago that when it comes to the issue of women and weight, there is no winning thing you can say.
You're smarter than me, Wilson.
Well, I don't know. Hey, listen, I want to ask you a favor because I just heard you reading that rant from the guy in North Carolina.
Yes.
Now, I don't often ask you for favors like this, but you got to send that to me because that needs to be heard again.
Yes, I'll do it.
And if you don't mind it, I'm gonna repeat that again a little later in my show because I think that guy is telling you the truth.
That's right.
That guy is on the ground and he's telling you, the way it really is. And that needs to be repeated time and time again so people know what really is going on over there.
On the way. I'll get it to you. Absolutely.
Fair enough.
By the way, I always have moments of regret. I don't know if you feel it late into the show around 6:45 or so. I'm looking at all the stuff that I didn't get to. I didn't get to this Kamala Harris Univision engagement, I don't know what we would call it, where she said that she would put her immigration record up against anyone. I know you've seen this, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, well, you're going to get the chance to, lady, in about 25 days, and I think I know how that's going to go.
Isn't it? I thought that Jesse Waters had a great observation out there. He says, look, they're bringing Obama in to talk about, how they're losing black men in the Democrat side of the equation, and he comes out and he says, basically that that what we have right now is not working, but it'll be better when she's there. And it's just like, really? How's that going to be better? It's amazing how bad a campaigner she really is. In fact, I'm going to start with some of that here in just a few moments at 3 o'clock as we get into it. I'm going to spend some time talking about, I've got some numbers and I have to do that. I just have to. But I'm going to really start talking about the anecdotal stuff we're hearing. And I said this yesterday when we did our little Matt chat, and that was that I think something is happening. And I think it's positive for our side. Mm-hmm. Something has happened in the last, I'd say, 2 weeks, and it's starting to move in the direction of Trump and away from Kamala Harris, and the Democrats are panicked. Completely panicked.
I heard it this way, Brian, and it made a lot of sense. For those of you interested in football, watching some games this weekend, it's like the Kamala Harris camp, they were a running football team. They were hiding her. They knew they couldn't present her out in public. And they've got internal polling that suggests that she has to pass the football. And anytime a running football team starts getting desperate and throws the ball downfield, more often than not, bad things happen. And that's what I feel like is happening to their camp.
Boy, that's a great analogy.
It is.
I would buy right into that 100%. So we're up and at 'em with that. And, of course, not one, but two exciting editions of Phone Your Farm Friday. It's all straight ahead right here on The Drive.
There you go, Brian. And I just sent you that piece in Messenger, Brian. So look on your Facebook Messenger, and it should be there right there in your inbox. Brian Wilson on the way next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver's got the news first, however, and I'm out of here for the weekend. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, able to spend it with family and friends, and I hope your team wins, unless your team is the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Until Monday at high noon, have a great weekend. So long, everybody.